I kind of have a song stuck in my head right now, so it's like playing as I'm trying to concentrate for this video. But anyways, I know earlier in my videos, I've always talked about, you know, pushing my skill level in videography. I have mentioned that I want to take on more client work that is video focused, and I do spend a lot of time like watching other creators to talk about their skills, about things they learned, and teaching me certain things, because I think I have a good basis level of videography, but not like a whole shebang of it, because I know if a client were to ask me about like, hey, can you film this, I wouldn't feel at the moment comfortable saying yes, but I want to get to that level where I can say yes with like full confidence. Because don't get me wrong, I enjoy taking photos, I love editing, but I do want to have, you know, the best of both worlds. I want to be able to do both, because I've done small projects for videos that are like my personal projects, like my little passion things, and I've vlogged, I've done these videos, and I've, you know, done, I guess you would say, cinematic travel stuff. But I want to not make sure, but I want to get to the point where I can do videography in the basis of work. So, and I have mentioned this camera multiple times before, so this camera is not like brand new. I didn't just buy this like 2 weeks ago. I've had this for quite a while. I think I've had it for almost like 4 or 5 months, and that is the FX3. Like I said, I have mentioned this camera a few times before, but I want to kind of dive into why I bought it, because I know there are other cameras that I could have chose from, and I guess you would say this is the first reason, because I know there are other cinema cameras, and then also there's other cameras that are a hybrid like functionality, like the Alpha 7 Mark IV, or models like the Alpha 7 R5 that is a photo first, but it does have great video specs, and models like the Alpha 7S3, which is a video first, but also can do really great photos because it has very, very great low light capabilities. But my mindset was, if I had a camera that has a very strong presence of hybrid capabilities, I probably would want to kind of dabble in both and not have myself fully focused inside making videos. So like I said, you look at the Alpha 7 R5, you're instantly gonna know that that's a camera that takes photos, but you're not gonna know about the video specs. But when you look at something like the FX3, where it has no viewfinder, I don't wanna say it's literally a brick, but it's literally a brick, you're gonna ask yourself, what does it do? You know, if someone who doesn't know these kind of cinema cameras, they're gonna be like, oh, what is it? Is that a photo camera? Is that a video camera? Which then sparks them to ask such questions. So, you know, my first reason is to have something that is video forward. You can take good photos on this. I've done it before. It's a 12 megapixel sensor, so it's still gonna look great. But it's still though, I wanted something that's gonna encourage me to pick it up and only make videos with it. Because I've tried to do it with my Alpha 7 R5, but I still find myself just pressured to take photos. And I wanted to also build up a skill level where it's like, hey, like I don't want to do that, you know, if that kind of makes sense. But yeah, I would say that's the first reason. Now the second reason, I feel like this is kind of given. So I've been shooting Sony cameras for a very, very long time, and all Sony cameras share the same ecosystem of lenses, whether you're an APS-C or full frame, they're all E-mount lenses. So in this conversation of trying to find a good video camera, I didn't want to go buy something that I didn't have lenses for, because, well, lenses aren't cheap. So I kind of wanted something that I'm already kind of in the mix of. So, you know, I have a good variety of Sony E-mount lenses, so prefer to go for a Sony camera. And this is kind of like, I know like some people will always have an argument of being like, that's not true, that is true. But Sony does make really good quality, sharp, you know, really nice lenses. You know, I have a lot of them. That's the reason why I tend to lean forward to Sony, because they make great lenses. So having already been in that ecosystem allows me to kind of cut through that barrier of like, oh, now I gotta buy a new camera from a different brand, different manufacturer, and then buy those lenses, or buy lenses equivalent to that mount, or buy an adapter for that mount. So, you know, that's kind of the second reason. I'm already stuck in the ecosystem, so this allows me to easily transform, or I guess transition, into now doing videography. Now, I'm not gonna say the FX3 is a small camera. I mean, it is a pretty good size. It's, I would say, equivalent to my 7R Mark V, if we're excluding the cage I have on here. We'll get into that later. But I would say in comparison to other cameras I was looking at, this was a pretty good size, especially if I find myself shooting in like really tight, closed spaces. With this, with just one lens, and if I'm handhelding it, I'm good, I'm decent, especially the fact that I can pull the screen out and rotate it if I have to shoot in a low position. Along with that, the FX3 can go from this small thing to a giant, almost cinema rig if you put the right parts to it. Now, when I add a native clip and this top handle, and also including this full cage that's wrapped around, if you can kind of get a good look of it, I can then convert furthermore into making this into a full cinema rig. For this top handle, I can attach a monitor on here. In the back of the part here, I can add another plate where it allows me to put a V-mount battery. I guess the best way to say is that the FX3 allows it to kind of be pushed to be a full cinema rig without having to buy a full cinema rig. And actually, Chris Brockhurst has a video about how he can turn his FX3 into kind of like a run and gun cinema rig, and I bought a few parts that do it, where I literally attach a like a monitor clamp that goes onto here, put my monitor in there, plug the cable through here, and then he has I think he has a grip on the side that allows it to for a little bit more steady shot. But even so, like, that's another thing about the FX3 is that having these 1/4 inch little screw-ons right here, if you can kind of see, having these, there's about, I think, 4 or 5 of them wrapped around this camera. You can attach so much to it. And I know you can attach cages to other cameras, but when you're able to screw a whole cage into your camera, it kind of feels a little bit more secured, because I've done it for my 7R V, and I don't want to say it felt janky, but I felt like if a part of that were to break, the whole camera can slip out of my hand easily. But yeah, I mean, look at this. This is kind of cool, even just without like other parts of it. Kind of makes me want to shoot now. Now, another reason why I bought the FX3 is that I wanted something, if I was on a very long project, to last a very long time. I know a lot of the issues that, for a reason like where like a Sony camera could not last in recording duration is because of the battery, but there are some cameras that have an overheating issue that I have seen other creators talk about. So I know the battery is solvable by getting a dummy battery or plugging in you know, like a charging cable into the wall. Like I said, that's one of the solutions, but I don't want to have the issue of overheating. So the FX3 has built-in fans that will cool down the camera as you progress forward into your recording. And what's cool is that fan is actually pretty quiet. I've recorded the fan in a quiet space, like turned it on using either a shotgun mic or the mic built into the FX3, and you don't hear it. So that's kind of nice. So if you put a dummy battery on this, you put a solid state drive in there or a very massive media card, you can record on this camera for a very, very, very long time. I haven't tested out yet, but I do want to. I've done it with the battery. I think I get a good 3 hours before it starts to completely die. But I know other people have said they've gotten it shorter, but I don't know. I've gotten lucky around 3 hours. So yeah, this thing can, you know, I guess push it to its limits. I mean, dude, they filmed an entire movie on this camera on like 9 of these. And I think that was one of the reasons they were like, wait, this camera doesn't overheat like other cameras don't do. So let's just use this one. Now, I know this could have been on top of my list, but I had to really think about this, because this point, or I guess you would say this reason, can be argued, because I know there are other like video first cameras that can perform better in this category, but I also know that a lot of them kind of perform in the same, I guess, area or level, and that is image quality. Now, the FX3 makes such beautiful videos I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of creators take this and record the most beautiful sights in the world. And I know some people say like, oh, this camera can do better, or this camera do that. But also at the end of the day, it's about your preference. I know a lot of people say that the color science that Sony produces is what wins them over. I mean, that's what won me over in the first place for choosing the FX3 and also choosing, alpha cameras. But that's such a conversation that's always going to be pulled back and forth, because people are always going to have different opinions on this. I love it. I think it does very, very well. I mean, this camera has 15 stops of dynamic range when you're shooting during the day. So you're gonna have more information, more details in your highlights and in your shadows than some other cameras can have. Along with that, it does so well in low light situations because it has a dual base ISO at 640 and at 12,800. So in those two scenarios, when you're shooting, when you need to shoot in a really, really dark area, you're not gonna have almost little to no noise at 12,800, and you're gonna have little to no noise at 640. So having that, especially if you find yourself in scenarios where you can't control the light, or let's say it's really gloomy outside or really dark or getting close to nighttime, you have the capabilities of having two separate ISOs to push that camera to its limit. And I won't dive into, hey, it shoots in 4K, 100, because a lot of cameras now these days shoot 4K at 8K, 60 frames per second, 120 frames per second. But I want to talk about where it very kind of has its strengths in, and that's kind of what made me be like, hey, I want to buy this camera, you know? So image quality, I would say, is a hard conversation to have because I know other people are going to talk about this camera does that and that camera does this. So that's kind of why I made it my last reason. Now I know there are many more reasons why the FX3 is like a good camera. these are the ones that were right top of my head because, you know, if someone were to ask me like, hey, why'd you pick the FX3? These would be the reasons why I would list it. And if someone is right now like skimming through the internet trying to find like, hey, is the FX3 worth it? Hopefully this video gave you some insight. I know it wasn't very spec forward because this camera is roughly, what, 4 years old already, 3 years old? So there's so many videos out there that are already talking about the FX3, about its specs. So you can dive into those. And that's also why I didn't do it. So, but hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it gave you insight if you're looking to purchase the FX3. I do want to do more videos about the FX3. So definitely that's something down the road. This is just a really cool camera. I love it. And just talking right now and just visualizing what I want to do with it is just, it's causing me to really just go outside right now and just film. But yeah, if you have any questions or, you know, have any thoughts about the FX3, definitely comment below. Whether you think it's a horrible camera, I would, yeah, just comment down below so I can see what you thought. But anyways, I have to go and edit this real quick because I was lazy and I didn't make this video yesterday, and I want to post this tomorrow, which is today, if you're watching it today when it was published. Anyways, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Like I said, I like making these videos, and I don't know, it makes me just feels like I'm talking to someone, because most of the time I'm home by myself. I'm just kidding. No. But anyways, I'll catch you guys later.